I guess we're going to start because most people here are pregnant and ready to have their babies. So I was planning more of that type of education today. So we're going to talk about labor, signs of labor, when you should go to the doctor or hospital, why I think people should try to go without an epidural, but I'm not against it if you really need it. So, also it's your birth, but there are some reasons not to have an epidural. I know people are asking that as part of their questions. So labor can take weeks. So it's not just like the movies where all of a sudden you feel something and you got to rush to the hospital. You could be 2, 3, 4 centimeters dilated for weeks at a time. And you could also be 0 dilated and have the baby that day. So you could have a dozen babies and each one will be totally different. So we can't say exactly what's going to happen, but there's some signs of labor that we could kind of look for. First thing, it is a wonderful journey, and I really appreciate working with women. And Sapir, well, this will be our second time. It's her 3rd baby. And Yael, this will be our 3rd baby together. And I am very honored to support her. We're just going to go quickly over her little journey. She was doing so well. And was it your husband was not able to come because Shabbat, or?
First time was COVID. I had to choose one person, so I chose Dolly. And second time, it was Friday night, Shabbat. And so she was Mechalel Shabbat for me. He cannot be Mechalel Shabbat also.
So with Yael, the first time she was doing really well, but then she kept saying, I need the epidural. I want the epidural. Why shouldn't I have the epidural?
No, I had 25 hours of labor. Let's start from this.
So,
I didn't sleep.
Yeah.
It was really me being exhausted. But
But one question I have learned to ask is, do you have low blood pressure? And it is very, very important to know your blood pressure, because when you have an epidural, your blood pressure just drops. And in Yael's case, it was started off so low that she almost like tanked out. They had to give her 15 injections to bring her pressure back up. She had a little bit of a bleed from the epidural and was not able to hold her baby for approximately a month.
After 2 weeks, I started feeling like more decent. Yeah, but maybe a month for a full recovery. But 2 weeks, I cannot even take care of the baby. I can't hold her. I can't even sit and eat my own lunch. Like, it was terrible.
So then about a year later, or a little bit less, she called and said, I'm pregnant again. Would you support me? And I said, no. If you're getting an epidural, then I cannot do it. My heart can't hold it. So Yael, with her second, go ahead.
So what, like to tell about the different experience? Wow, it's like biggest difference. In Hebrew we say shamayim va'aretz. It's like once the baby it's out, first of all, you're again independent woman. You can do everything. You feel good. It's just like you went to the bathroom and you came out. This is how you feel with no epidural. But I mean, so the thing is that there are so many things that can go wrong with epidural and they don't tell you. That's what happened to me. So I knew that this time there's no way I'm taking epidural. Also, I knew because of the blood pressure, I got to the maximum dose with my first baby, which means right after that, if I would not have the baby that time, I would go to emergency C-section. So this is all gave me strength to keep up, and it's like it's a temporary pain if I have no epidural. I know once baby out, it's like over. I control my body tell me exactly when I need to push. I can tell them, okay, it's time to push. And with the epidural, I just look at the monitor, everyone looking at the monitor. Once it show like contraction, they're like, okay, push. And you don't even know what you're doing, just following orders, hope you're doing it good. But with no epidural, you just do it in the natural way, like your body guide you exactly what to do. Recovery was amazing. It's like maybe I was a little bit weak, more like after a long exercise, but nothing major.
Especially since she doesn't exercise.
Yeah, but I have to tell you, I mean, it is hard to do it with no epidural. But I think most of it, it's not just the physical pain, it's more mental. I had Dolly over there to really help me in the mental way. I was feeling like, okay, I really want to ask epidural again, but I feel so embarrassed telling her, like, no naive from Dolly. So I'm just gonna keep up with no epidural. But that was the best decision, and this is why I know that, I mean, there is no way I'm going to labor again without her, or really everyone that you think that is strong enough to support you physically and mentally, and give you the strength you need. Because sometimes, I mean, we have this strength in us, we just forget it. So we just need someone to be there and remind us that. As long as you have someone, like, I mean, being with no epidural, it's like easy. And I mean, I'm saying, think about our moms, they had no epidural, they had no other option, so they just did it. So when you know you don't have any option, you're just doing it, and I think that's it, right?
That's wonderful. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So,
I have a question. How long was the second labor for? Because you said the first one was for 25 hours.
well, 25 hours that she didn't
The first
sleep.
one.
Well,
Right. And the second one for?
Mom started at like 3 a.m. and from that time until I had a baby, it was 24, 25 hours. This time we got to the hospital at 2 a.m. The baby went out at 11 a.m.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
So most of this is a head game. And so you can start doing things now to prepare your body, to prepare your mind. You should be writing down things and envisioning the birth that you want to have. Some things that you can do to trick your mind is take a piece of ice in your hand and you hold it for 30 seconds. Okay, then we put it down after the 30 seconds, and then we get another piece of ice and put it in the other hand, and we hold it for 60 seconds. And then we put that one down, and then we take ice in our hands and we hold for 120 seconds, because there is nothing that we really can't do for 60 seconds. And basically a contraction will last, well, the intense pressure is usually around 30 seconds. And then once you start thinking, oh, I can't do this, it starts to dissipate and that strong contraction kind of goes away. And then you can say, okay, I can do another one. But it kind of helps to train your brain. It's kind of part of like hypnobirthing, where we constantly are envisioning, like, remember like a trip that you've been on and the feeling that it evokes. Anything that brings love and good feelings to your brain, you should be thinking of, whether it's, you know, when you got married, maybe a song that you have with your husband that evokes like a good emotion. Any good emotions bring wonderful oxytocin. Oxytocin is the love drug, and that's what helps bring down baby. And sometimes we even throw up during contractions, and you have to like know that that is even better than a contraction, letting it all go. But when somebody says they want an epidural, like, yeah, like she was so tired, then we can say yes. An epidural can benefit somebody that's, maybe been laboring for 28, 36 hours and they finally need to rest. But if your pressure is low, then I would try to find something else, whether it's some morphine, Demerol, whatever they're offering. Sometimes they do laughing gas now, the nitrous oxide. There's other things besides an epidural. Also with an epidural, you are pumping up your fluids in your body, and all of those fluids do go to your baby. So also when your baby comes out and you've had fluids for 2 days, then those fluids are going to the baby. Let's say the baby weighs 7 pounds and it loses, 10%, 12% of its body weight just from all those fluids coming out. Everybody gets panicky and, tells you your baby's not thriving and you need to give it formula, which is a whole other issue. But, so labor can start, like I said, weeks before. You could lose your mucus plug, like 2 weeks before. You can even lose it longer, but it grows back if you lost it very early in labor. So it's an exciting feeling too when you see something happening, and also could be scary. But we always, get checked. But most of the time, if you have your mucus plug come out, it could be anywhere from 10 to 12 days. If you have bloody show, that could mean a day or two. But like I said, you could walk around 4 centimeters for 2-3 weeks. And, so it's sometimes moms think, oh, I need to be checked. But dilation doesn't really show you anything. With a first time mom, you want your cervix to be soft. So when your cervix is soft, so it goes from 0 to 100%. And once your cervix gets soft, then your body can start dilating. With second time moms, you usually dilate first and then your cervix softens. And we can do certain things to help things move along. If you're starting to dilate and you are like 2 or 3 centimeters, we could do some natural induction. Number one, the thing that got you pregnant is the biggest help to get the baby out. Nipple stimulation. And when you're doing what got you pregnant, you do want to have an orgasm. You need to have that happy feeling, the good oxytocin that is going to give you a strong contraction that will bring down baby. So nipple stimulation is one of also the best things to naturally induce. If you can have it with pleasure, that also helps stimulation. But if you want to pump to bring on natural labor, we would pump for 10 to 15 minutes on one side. And usually this is around 37 weeks that you can start. So we would pump for 10 to 15 minutes on one side. If you're having contractions, we want to stop. If you don't have contractions, we're going to wait like 10 minutes and then we're going to go to the other side. And you can do that throughout the day, like every hour. And if you really are interested in getting labor started, nothing is going to cause you to go into labor if your body's not ready. So sometimes we go to 42 weeks and body's not ready and baby's not ready to come out. So then we might need some type of induction. And inductions usually take, Sapir, what was it, 3 days? Oh, I think you're muted. Unmute.
Yeah, personally, I just don't want any bit of Pitocin entering my body ever again. That was the worst for me. especially if I'm in a place where I'm not yet opting in for an epidural. And yeah, for my first with the epidural, I had a really bad experience. It was an induction, so they gave me the epidural right away. And I felt like me just feeling paralyzed waist down felt very unsettling, and it wasn't calming. And then just, being constrained to the bed and not being able to eat, and it just it wasn't great. The second time around, I just yeah, I think I was just so desperate, but I really again want to stick it out without not getting it. And it just kind of sucked to have this huge needle in my back, only for it to like wear out 2 hours later, and I still felt everything, but the only difference was I couldn't move. Yeah.
But you were 41 weeks and 3 days when you thought you were in labor. And
Yeah.
so it was 3 days, but two days you didn't have anything. It was
Yeah, 2 days I didn't have anything. I came at 3 centimeters. And then it took me like a day and a half to get to like 5. And I think we went earlier just because it was like my first rodeo attempting a VBAC.
right. And it was over 41 weeks, and you were trying to do a yeah. And
Yeah.
you needed some rest.
Yeah, no, for sure. But yeah, definitely want to do things differently.
So we try to stay home as long as possible. We want to labor at home as long as we can. You want to kind of, when you start off where you might be getting a little contractions, they might be like once every 45 minutes, once every 30 minutes. You want to just kind of go on with your day and, maybe bake a cake or do something pleasurable, take a bath. And taking baths, like Epsom salt baths, are really wonderful if you have a pool. Getting in the pool, the weightlessness is really helpful to feel, free. But the most important part of labor is moving your body. No matter if you're standing at the counter, I want you to be stretching and moving and twerking and moving that tushy up and down, back and forth. Just as much moving as you can do, because if you just stay stagnant, the baby's going to stay stagnant. You move, think of having a ball between your legs and you just stay there. Nothing's going to happen. But if you start wiggling and moving and moving your body, that baby will move with you. And that's the way we get the baby out. So if you're the last part of your pregnancy, make sure that you're walking, swimming, bathing, and stretching. A lot of squats, pretending like you're cleaning the floors or the bathtub. Some people really do it, but that movement and moving our arms, like, it's not helpful to do both. It's helpful to do off center. And whatever you do on the right side, we're going to be doing on the left. But movement is key. I mean, you don't have to be doing heavy exercises, but a few squats every hour, is really helpful. A few yoga poses, downward dog. If your baby is in a position that's not optimal, if the baby's breech, most babies will turn by 37, 38 weeks, the most. But if the baby hasn't turned, you can get an ECV, because most doctors do not do breech deliveries here. Maybe if you had a great midwife, they could do it. But I have had a lot of successful moms have their babies turned and at 37 weeks and still went to 41 weeks, even with IVF, and had healthy natural births. And so is there any questions anybody has right now that we can touch on?
So because I know the mucus plug, sometimes it dislodges. It's not always a big blob. It can be gradually. So that's where the trouble comes in terms of like deciphering between what's just regular discharge and what's actually a part of your mucus plug.
So mucus plug can come off in little snotty pieces. It can come out in big chunks. It could come out pink. It could come out a little bit red, blood stained. But nothing, if you have a lot of blood where it's filling up a pad, we always go to the hospital. Red blood, brown blood, or if you see any green coming out, then we want to have it, or brown, we want to make sure that the baby hasn't pooped inside, so we get checked. But for mucus plug, that your mucus plug can come out at 6 months and then grow back. So mucus plug is not really a sign, really. It's just that things are softening, but the mucus plug can grow back. Bloody show is more of an indication that labor is near. Diarrhea, a lot of extra pooping, nausea, a lot of energy towards the end, nesting, where you want to get everything ready and you want to clean and, you know, things that you don't normally do. But I would say pooping a lot is one of the best signs that your labor is near. You might be starting to get a little anxious, which is very normal because we just grew a human, and we get kind of nervous and we start envisioning things like what if. But worrying is really a good thing, because when we worry, we kind of play out different scenarios in our brain. And when we play this out and something does happen, we've already like figured out what we're going to do if something happens. We don't want to obsess over anything, but worrying about something and what you would do if something, you know, happened. And especially if you have a plan in your mind of how birth is supposed to go. We always have to say, as long as baby and mother are doing well, we do A, B, and C. If not, we have to move on to plan B and plan C, you know. God always is in there, baby's in there, and so it's not always set in stone. But as long as everything is, and as little interventions as you have, is easier on the body, the longer you can stay at home to avoid these interventions. Because once you have one intervention, like the Pitocin, and then you can't, it's like a fake contraction. So it's like much stronger than any natural contraction. The fake ones are like, don't necessarily do very much. Sometimes they just like kind of make a contraction in your stomach, and they're one after the other, and they're unbearable. But I've had some people that have the highest dose of Pitocin and never felt one contraction. We turned it off the next day, and she went naturally on her own and still didn't feel any contractions, and thought she was going to have an epidural, and at 6 o'clock in the afternoon had a perfectly healthy natural birth. And so many of my moms, they call me and they're like, Dolly, I don't know if I'm having a contraction. I don't know if I'm in labor. I'm just feeling pressure. And you could just feel a little bit of pressure in your vagina, you know, and that could be labor. I have had several in the last few months that have been 9 centimeters when we go to check them, and they didn't even know they're in labor. So it's really, like I said, a head game, and trusting your body and trusting the process, that your body knows what to do. And when you start getting coached in labor, like Yael was saying, that, you know, they're telling you to push and hold and breathe. And if you would just let your body, and especially when you don't have the epidural, like she said, you can feel when you need to push. With an epidural, you're going to feel some pressure, but you don't know where you're pushing, you know, and you have to think of, like, also when you're laying down, it's hard to make a poop while you're laying down. So your body actually opens up more when we can put pressure on the head of the baby. So I'm gonna have Yael show a few exercises that you can do. Number one, your birth ball is one of your best friends. So Yael's gonna sit on the ball. She's gonna sit up straight and she's just gonna kind of do a figure 8. You're gonna rock and then go back the other way. Yeah. Okay. And then now we're gonna raise one arm. And then the other, yes. You can go back and forth, yeah. So a birth ball is wonderful and it's great to have even in the beginning of pregnancy because it forces you to keep your core strong and straight. And when your core is strong, it helps you to release the baby. Okay, so now we are going to go over to our squatting bar and we can do this anywhere. So you can throw a towel or a sheet over your door. So
Okay.
you're going to hold it from the front.
Okay.
1 second.
Yeah, maybe you
Let
will
me-
demonstrate first.
Yeah, I will
Let's take a
demonstrate.
look.
And- Hold on 1 second. Get yourself a good playlist.
Ready?
Okay. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Work it. You just, and while you're having a contraction, this is your best medicine. When you want to move with contraction and divert your brain from thinking about what's going on. Get yourself a good playlist.
Oh, we want that playlist.
Yeah.
We have a, we do have a question on the chat because you
Yes.
were talking about, waiting to go to the hospital and so.
Okay. So waiting to go to the hospital.
Yeah,
So
go ahead.
in the
Sophia.
beginning, you're happy, you can talk, you can do things. And now, your contractions are very erratic. They could be, one every 30 minutes, 20 minutes. They could go away for a little while. And then we just kind of like go on with our day. You eat, you take a shower, you just start being aware. But now once the contractions are like every 10 minutes, 5 minutes apart, and they still can be erratic. They could be 5 minutes and then 7 minutes and then 10 minutes. And then you might not even know that you're having a contraction if you're just not like paying attention and just kind of go on with your day. But once you get to, and you want to be close to a hospital or wherever your birth center is, or you're contacting your midwife, once you get to the point where you're not talking anymore, or you don't want anybody to talk to you, and now your contractions are coming like maybe 5 to 3 minutes apart, it's time to head to the hospital. So when I hear breathing changing from like you kind of like zone out like a exorcist type of thing, then I say, let's go to the hospital where you don't feel like talking anymore. Your contractions are like 5 minutes. So every 5 minutes for lasting a minute for an hour that you can time, that's when you should start thinking about going to the hospital If you're close, I would wait till like maybe every 3 minutes, especially if it's your first baby. Because it does take longer usually with your first. Second, we will go at 5 minutes, where it's continuous, like where we can actually time them. I just helped a mom last month that we did a home birth, and we went to a Brit in the morning, we went home and we danced, and her little 2-year-old came home and she was breastfeeding him. And while she was doing that, I could hear her breathing started to change. It was like, and I said, let's call the midwife. But she hadn't been really timing her contractions that well, because she really wasn't. She just kept feeling a little pressure in her vagina. And once in a while, she felt her tummy tightening. But I just kind of, from the way her breathing was changing, I thought, okay, this is a good time to have the midwife come. I called the midwife and they wanted to know her contraction. I'm like, you're not going to like this, but it's 15 minutes, 10 minutes, 5 minutes, 2 minutes, 17 minutes. And I'm like, but I think she needs to be checked. And they're like, okay. So then they come over and they see her breastfeeding her baby. So they're like thinking, oh, there's no way, that she could be possibly ready. So we take the little boy out. They check her. She was 9 centimeters. I filled up that tub real quick, and we had, in less than 40 minutes, the baby came out at home. And so it's not always, like what you see in the movies at all. And the more that you can get on hands and knees, even if you have an epidural, they both can attest, when you even have the epidural, I will move you like if you were on the floor, because movement is what gets the baby out. So, and another wonderful tool that you have, like if you're at home or in the hospital, is to sit on your toilet backwards and have at least 5 contractions on the toilet. First of all, you want to empty as much as you can, constantly, peeing, pooping, whatever you can do. Keep drinking, keep peeing. The more space that you can make, the more space the baby can move around and move out. So the baby needs you to work with them. And it's very, very important. I'm going to have Yael demonstrate another move. So we're going to do side lying. So most hospitals will have a peanut ball. So I'm going to have her lay on the couch. Very good model I have here. Yeah.
Okay.
And Yael is due in a few weeks. So you're going to lay on your side. There we go. Her bottom leg is going to be straight. Bottom leg straight. And this is going to come up. And you're going to lay down. There we go. And we're just going to stay like this for about 20 minutes.
Go back here so they can see.
Yeah. So this helps open the inlet of this the other way. They don't see you. Let me turn it.
Yeah, just turn the. Can you use the other
Yeah, let me
one?
lose the camera the other way. Let me switch camera. Okay, there we go. So let me set this up here so you can see. So even if you had the epidural, I would be moving you for at least 20 minutes on this side so that it feels like you are being moved. And then we would flip you over. You'd rest for about 5 minutes. And then we would start on the other side.
Switch.
So what I also want you to do is get on all fours. Pretend like this is a hospital bed.
Okay.
And you're gonna, even in the bed, even having this motion, move that tushy. Move, and stretch one arm out and stretch the other arm. And you can do this in the hospital bed. You can have the bed up and you can be stretching and moving, even if you have an epidural. But the more you move, the more the baby will come down. Did you say there was some questions? Iris?
That was it. It was about, the
About
fear
going
of
to the hospital?
hospital, with 9 centimeters. Yeah.
If there's blood, yes, the hospital will let you push on all fours. But you have to confirm that with your doctor. As long as you don't have the epidural, you can birth in any position that you want. If you have an epidural, we try to have you do a very light one so that you still have feelings in your leg and we can still move you. But the most important also is to have somebody that is supporting you, that's not going to be, that you don't have to take care of, or that, let's say you were to scream out, that they're not going to rush and tell the doctors or nurses to do something. You need somebody to control you, help you to breathe. Our shoulders go up all the time when we're stressed. So we want to breathe everything down, shoulders down. We want to take a deep breath through our nose, but it's bring our tummies out. So bring the air out in your tummy, take a deep breath and blow, but your tummy is coming out. So practice this at home when, like every hour, when you're getting ready for bed. So you just want to concentrate on making sure your shoulders are soft, because when we're in a fight or flight mode, everything gets out of control. So we want to stay in control. We want to breathe, take deep breaths and blow out, blow baby down. Everything comes down. And I want you to find your sound. So whatever sound you make when you're maybe having pleasure or happy, or just something that can rhythmically calm you down, whether it's or if you can find your sound and get into it, that will help distract you during labor. So like I said, it's a mind game, and if you have somebody that will help you distract you and change your positions. So dancing is absolutely the best. Sometimes when you feel like you can't move, like I will have you fall into me and we will do like a slow dance and, just keep moving you and massaging your back and putting counter pressure if you're having pain in the back of your back. I also use a TENS unit that I will hook up to your back. And then when you're telling me you have a contraction, let me bring me back so I can talk to you. Okay. So when you're having a contraction, we can attach the TENS unit. And what it does is causes little stimulation. And usually I get a thumbs up from you, like when you're having a contraction, and I will up the intensity. And it's not like it shocks you, or it just kind of is tickling a little bit. And all we're doing is diverting from the contraction. And like I noticed that the strongest the contraction is. So when you get your highest contraction, even at 6 or 7 centimeters, it's not going to get worse. It might come more frequent, but it's not going to get, so sometimes they come in and they try to scare you and they say, oh, well, if you think this is bad, wait till, 7, 8, 9, 10. But it's usually once you have the strong contraction, that's as strong as it's going to get. It just might come more often. So we just have to work through it more. For me, I will massage your feet. I will, put pressure and, let you squeeze and break my hands. Anything that can distract you. I also I don't like aromatherapy because we want the baby to come out and smell you. But I do take like an essential oil.
On the table. So. Yeah.
So find something that brings you pleasure of a scent. So, and what I do is you're having a contraction, breathe, do your breathing, follow the smell. I just put it under your nose and you have to follow it. Well, you want to get a natural oil. You don't want anything on you. So it's something that brings you pleasure. Like sweet orange is even like something that's even recommended from, like, you know, when the government gives you a list of things that are good for labor, sweet orange is a good smell for labor. A lot of people like lavender. Some people like eucalyptus, but I only try to bring a natural, and I don't put anything on your body. So once the baby comes, the baby stays on you for an hour. The best part of the baby coming through the vagina is going through the vagina, getting all the liquids and mixed with the poop, sets up the baby for its microbiome for the rest of its life. So the poop is like the main thing. So don't worry about when you poop. Everybody does a little tiny bit, you know, it's just part of it. And that is what sets the baby's microbiome and its gut health for the rest of its life. Nobody says anything. We just wipe it away and it's gone, you know. Nobody gets put off by it. But even if you have a C-section, they are doing things called vaginal seeding, where unfortunately this country is not doing it yet, but all over the world they are doing it. And they'll take all the stuff from your tush and your vagina and put it onto the baby so that it can absorb those microbiomes. But I guess let's go to C-section. So if you were to have a C-section, we want it to be as natural. Will hemorrhoids affect birth? If you have them already, you're probably going to get them some more. But the more that you can stay on hands and knees, off your tush. So when we're laying down like this, our coccyx bones do not have the opportunity to move backwards. When we are off, so even if you would want a pillow on each side, but if you could birth like this would be even helpful. Yeah. So you just don't want to be on that coccyx bone, because the coccyx bone will stay right in that position. But once you're able to get off your coccyx bone, it opens up and makes more space for baby to pass through. So even if you're, you know, with an epidural, you could have somebody holding your leg. You can go on the side. You could go on all fours. And you want to try to be off your butt as much as possible. And if you really are like heavily sedated and you can't move your legs at all, then have somebody lift up on each side of your leg, so your tush is off the bed and you're not putting pressure. But hemorrhoids, ice packs, if you're not squeezing too much, so we want to birth down, and we don't want to be coming up like this. We want to relax everything, and you want to kind of, if you have an epidural, you're going to have guided instructions, and that's going to be more stress on your body. But if you listen to your body, and the eject you're gonna know when you have to push that baby out. You have to listen to your body. One thing I have to warn everybody is, if you feel like pushing and the doctor is not near, whoever is holding that baby in, you scream for them to get the F away from you. And it's a thing. It does happen. So we want to make sure that everybody knows about this, and do not let anybody tell you. Tell them to get a hospital doctor. So in the hospital, they kind of like wait till you're 10 dilated, and then all of a sudden it can happen in a second. And the doctor is like rushing to get there, and they tell you to hold it. Don't hold it. You just rock yourself out. They'll get a doctor or nurse to come in, and you'll have that baby. But don't let anybody push the baby back up. I've seen so many horrible things. Like when I get them the next time, it's terrible. But it's a thing. And so I just always like to warn you in advance. But hemorrhoids, start doing ice packs, and do them is the second that they're out. Laboring down. What was the whole thing?
So, if I may, I was following some Instagram page, and they mentioned that even like when they check you and you're 10 centimeters, but you're not necessarily feeling that pressure,
Right.
to just like kind of chill and stay put for like an hour or 2 hours, and that just avoids the time to push, or maybe they can descend more during.
If you get on all fours, that will help. Anything that, you know, puts weight, you know, like you want to be squatting. I'm like squatting on by the bed or the couch.
Mm-hmm.
Squat, and then even squatting with one leg. Yeah. So yeah, you can see if you do one leg up on a chair or a little stool, that will help bring the baby down. But even just going down and squatting, that will help bring the baby down. Especially if you're 10 dilated, then that will help. And also a very big thing is to start thinking of things that might be holding your baby back. Things that you hold on to, whether it's something from childhood, trauma, you're scared, you have to let these things go. So I suggest writing down at least 5 to 7 things on a piece of paper, and go out to the beach, go out to a park, read each thing out loud, and then I want you to burn that sheet of paper, and then read the next thing. And it's a letting go. And a lot of this, you know, people that hold on to 41, 42, 43 weeks, something is holding back. So we want to release it and tell the baby, you're ready. Tell your body you're ready. You want to meet your baby. Talk to your baby. Your baby will listen to you. No, you don't have to be pregnant to do this. We can all use a letting go. Yeah. I have to let go of my chocolate. Yeah. No, whether it's, I mean, anything. It could be something from childhood that's you're scared of. You're scared of having a baby. You're scared of, you know, failing. You're afraid to be a mother. What's it say?
Let's see how to open the chat so you can see the entire message. Yeah, chat.
Okay. Okay.
So the question is, what if the fear is actually the baby coming out? What if the fear is, I'm a mother now, what do I do?
Exactly. I've had moms that
Help us.
that baby comes out, and or like during labor, they look at me and they go, what am I going to do with a baby? I'm a working mother, you know, I'm a working woman, you know, like, and actually don't even want to look at the baby for an hour or two. I mean, I've had that happen. And it's just hormone. I mean, first of all, we have to look at our ancestors and how many thousands and millions of women have done this before. And we keep doing it again and again. So it can't be that bad. And sometimes during labor, moms will be screaming, I'm not doing this again. I'll never do this again. Get me out of here. And I swear to God, the second the baby's out, and they'll go, oh, Yeah, I'll do this again next time, you know. Hi.
Sorry, somebody woke up. I thought he would nap longer.
But he's happy.
Yeah, it's actually his birthday. It's his birthday is 1 year today. It's 1 year.
1 year today.
Yeah.
Happy birthday.
So you're gonna have 3 under 2 or 3 under 3?
3 under 3 for at least until October, and then she turns
Okay.
3. So
Oh, so 3 under
yeah.
2.
yeah.
And you'll
So,
have
Sophia, you're the perfect person to tell us a little bit about motherhood and this fear of, the baby's coming, and how do you, with 3 children.
So this one was not planned, and there was a lot of guilt involved, because I just really just wanted to be a mom of 2. I felt that I was out of the trenches, I was thriving. And it actually occurred to me last week. I'm like, wow, like I have this down packed now. And then it just hit me that like, oh, I'm gonna be like in the newborn trenches just when I'm like finally thriving. And with my first, it was it was right after a miscarriage. So I was like obsessed with like every milestone and just making sure the baby was okay. With him, I was also very in tune with like every checkup and milestone. I felt kind of a detachment this time around. I don't know if it's because I was like so busy and occupied with the other 2. But like it didn't really hit me. Like I didn't really take the time to connect this time around up until maybe a few weeks ago. And I don't know if that's normal with the third. Yeah.
Well, I find it really normal, especially the first that I could be with them and I'm like, did you put your car seat in? And they look at me like I'm crazy. Like, why would I do that? I'm like, because you're getting ready to go in labor, like they don't even know that they're pregnant. It's like, it doesn't
Yeah.
even dawn on them that they're going to have a baby, like days.
Yeah. And I'm like, I'm just starting to get the nesting. I was like, oh, because I was out of state. I was up north because I just wanted to take advantage of getting out of the Miami heat like while I could before getting to the 36-week cutoff. But even then I was just I keep procrastinating. I'm like, oh, I probably should start reorganizing and reorganizing the closet and cleaning, and hopefully the urge will kick in. Yeah.
No, but the letting go is just, it sounds like hocus pocus, but I
Yeah.
swear almost every time I do a letting go with the moms, they have the baby the next day. So we'll be working on that very soon. But try to find somebody that's really supportive of you, that can help you redirect your emotions. Like I said, it's scary. You just grew a human. You have to give yourself grace, and it's the unknown is scary. And even if you're having 2, 3, 4, I go and help moms that have had 6 babies. And I swear, when I see them, it seems like, are you sure you had a baby last year? Like, it just like, well, I think that's one of God's protections, is like you forget everything. So you're in like this fog. But letting go of our emotions and telling the baby it's okay to come, you're ready for them, you love them, talk to them. They are understanding and hearing you now. They know your voice, your breathing, and that's why we say that the babies stay with us in the room for 6 months, because when a baby sleeps in the room, not necessarily your bed, but in the room with you, they know your breathing, they know your heartbeat, they know your voice. So if you don't even hear the baby, like all of a sudden, if you would just take the baby's heart rate will start getting regulated again. And that's why we keep them in the room with us, so that they can be regulated and not go into a deep sleep without being near you. They know your voice, your sounds. So just breathe and yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing, really. But I want to say another thing about fears is forgive yourself be nice to yourself. Be kind to yourself. Whatever you're feeling is just normal. Even if you think it's not normal, it's normal. It's okay. Just be forgiven. Be kind to yourself. Hug yourself. I think that's part of, you know, getting yourself stronger and saying it's okay. Yeah, maybe I'm different. Maybe I think different. Maybe I'm afraid when I'm supposed to be happy. Maybe everybody's different and it's okay. Accept that.
I was working with a pediatrician last week that she's due any day, and she was just called me and she's hysterical crying. She's like, I'm so afraid that something's wrong with my baby. I mean, so even a doctor, you know, is scared. I'm like, is there any signs that there's something wrong with? No, just I'm so afraid, you know, it's scary. You're in charge of a human being now, you know, and now you're gonna have 3. It's like, it's a lot, you know, you're gonna be pulled in different directions, and
Yeah.
it's okay, you know, like, and it's okay to ask for help. You
Yeah.
have to ask for help, you know.
Amazing point. Amazing.
We all need support,
Yeah.
all of us, you know, us tough ones that don't ask, we need it.
Yeah. Yeah. That,
We don't have to do everything ourselves. There's a big community out there, and there's so many people willing to help. So
Your camera just zoom in and out.
what other fears do you have, everybody?
Fears, questions. You want to
Yeah.
share anything?
uh,
And I'm not saying that birth is not, well, first of all, it's called labor for a reason. You know, we have to work this baby out. And so what happens is we have a contraction. Our bellies get really tight, they build, and then you're thinking, oh my God, you know, like, I can't do this, but you have to like play with your head and like breathe, like, and I time 20-30 seconds is where the most intense part is. And after that, even though the contraction's there, it's starting to dissipate. So if you could move with it, it makes it much easier. And when you say, I can't do this, I've changed my mind, get me the F out of here. You know, like if a spouse is there, don't breathe on me, don't talk to me, I don't want to smell you. I look at them and go, that means that baby is coming soon. You know, you start to get into this panic mode, and that is the hormones working, and your baby is pushing, and the hormones are building up, and all of that gets the baby out. So when you turn into the exorcist, and not everybody wants me to touch them, you know, but I have to, like, you know, sometimes I touch and they're like, don't touch me, don't talk, and then 2 minutes later they want me to touch them. And anything that you say in labor, we never say our sorry. There's no sorries in labor. You can be as mean as you want, you can do whatever, you know, it's all about you and your baby, you know, so don't ask for forgiveness from anything, you know. Labor means never having to say you're sorry. And whoever's going to be supporting you has to know, you know, in advance, not to take anything personal, you know, and especially if there's a spouse there. Sometimes they get put out that, you know, you're so mean, but, you know, maybe his smell reminds you of how you got there, you know. It's like, but try to bring things in the room that brings you joy. So if it was, you know, when you met, a song, anything that evokes laughter, pleasure, you want to have pictures of things that remind you of all these things, of even a good meal, and try to eat as much as you can before you go to the hospital. And I want you to bring like honey to the hospital, lots of snacks, coconut water, and we do eat in the hospital, even if they say no. It's just, they want you not to eat when you have the epidural. So try to eat as much as you can. You want some energy. Sometimes you don't feel like it, but having some coconut water, having, you know, ice chips, honey, just little things. And for a while you are going to be hungry. And then also, again, when things starts moving around and hormones start kicking in, that nausea might come in. You might throw up, I don't know, 2-3 hours, but it's okay. And you have to welcome the throwing up, that it's better than a regular contraction. It just brings everything down. And even if you don't feel like it, get up and keep going to the bathroom, you know, as long as you don't have the epidural. But the more you can empty your bladder and empty your tush, you know, it makes more room and more space. But it is fearful. You don't know how you're going to feel, and you're starting to feel these contractions, and you're like, oh my God, if it's like this, oh good, who's having the contraction? So let's breathe with your contraction. Come on. How far along are you?
She's doing a couple of weeks.
Okay. So it's anytime after 37, it's go time. So 37 to 42. Most babies come 41 weeks and 3 days. That's, you know, that magic 40 is really not, you know, the true number. So when they start pressuring you, you could have gotten pregnant 2 weeks before, you could have gotten pregnant 2 weeks after. It's just an estimate. So we say the estimated due date, you know. It's so hard, you know. And even like Sapir, you were what, almost 42 weeks with a VBAC.
Yeah.
With a VBAC. And just because you've had a C-section does not mean you have to have a C-section the next time. And I have this year supported somebody that had 3 C-sections, and we went on to have the 4th one vaginally, and it was the only one. She went home the next day, it was almost 9 pounds, and she's ready to do it again.
What if, so when your water breaks, is that like an immediate got to go to the hospital, whether contractions or not, or is that?
Well, if your water breaks and it's your first, you could wait a little while. As long as your water breaks and it's clear. If your water breaks and it's color to it, then we need to go to the hospital, because that would mean that the baby possibly had pooped.
Mm-hmm.
Where was that? Here, Jazz.
So I think
Oh, you're in the UK?
she's in the UK. Yeah. But
Yeah, twos are becoming much more popular here. 3 was really hard, but I have a doctor here, so if anybody needs to have a VBAC, come to Miami. I have lots of doctors for after 2, and one angel that will do 3, 4. There is a woman that had 2 C-sections and has gone on to have 8 more vaginal births after that. So don't let anybody tell you that you can't do it. You know, as long as you haven't been cut up and down, you can try for a vaginal. And even he doesn't even have a time limit on when you had the baby last to have another VBAC. So, you know, and he's written the book on shoulder dystocia and things like that. But if you're having contractions, move with them. Don't sit there. Let's move. And my favorite way here.
we love your house, baby. Thank you for the tour. I love it.
This is my favorite thing to do in labor.
Shake it, baby.
I get the moms, the dads, the nurses. We all do this.
You have a cappella version.
A what? I'm gonna click on music.
Cappella version.
What's that mean?
That's not real music, like someone.
Oh,
There's like a sections now.
okay. Come on, Sapir. Sapir's the best. What? No. No. Come on. This is the best way. You have to have fun. And when your partner is sleeping on the couch, I found that this really works. You're in bed. Or you can get a squirt gun. And the husbands get very tired when they're in the room. They've done so much work.
Poor things.
Yeah.
You're amazing.
So MS, you said you're having contractions now?
Miriam?
Are you having contractions? Chat.
Well, you're welcome to. We can do a dance party for you, Miriam, if you're interested. We can all move it and shake it with you. So.
Yeah. But remember, you want to stretch your arm. So if you have a ball and you just stand here, nothing's going to happen. But when you go like this, it wiggles right out. Like think about even a balloon. Put a balloon between your legs and just stand there and you'll see nothing. But once you start moving and twerking, I can't do it. Sapir is great at it. My best dancers, yeah.
Oh my gosh. Good times.
And yell. Come on. Show 'em.
I can do just me and you.
Okay. Everybody's shy.
Yeah, Elle, you've been a great sport, and I so appreciate it. This is awesome. Thank you for all the demonstration or so. Thank you.
Thank you.
So you can also use one of these Theraguns,
Massage.
anything that takes away the pain. I always say I'm going to use, when you get a pedicure and they use that grater on your feet, when they do it, I want to kick them. I'm like, I'm bringing this to labor. What about, does anybody want to know about breastfeeding? No?
Is there another, I'll say you have an inverted nipple, because sometimes sometimes I forget the nipple shields and I feel so shit out of luck. Is there another way or method to just really get them to latch?
Yes, you want to, well, I'll work on it with you, but we're going to compress back. Also, the more that you like pump on that nipple, it should pop out. Did it never pop out last time?
Yeah, I mean, I had one that would, but then I had one that was just so stubborn.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the more, and you probably avoided it, so if you work on it more, and stimulation, ice, ice can help make it pop out. Miriam, your question, did you? Did you want to speak or you want to type it, your question? MS? There is no dangerous amount of milk. And husbands can help stimulate labor, so that will be wonderful. Husbands can help if your nipples, if your breasts are clogged, they're like the #1 person to help get it out. What you would do is get on all fours, and we call it dangle feed. So you're on all fours and you're kind of hanging above. And let the husband suck it out. But so there's the only way to make more milk is the more you remove, the more your body makes. So if you're removing milk every 2 hours, your body's going to fill up those every 2 hours. There's no magic cookies. There's no blue drinks, pink drinks. It's just the more you remove, the more your body makes. So if you're, unfortunately, the first 2 weeks, you need to feed around the clock every 2 hours just to set your supply up for the rest of your journey. Your night milk actually is more nutritious. It has more melatonin in it. So eventually the baby will sleep better. During the day, has more cortisol. So you want to mark your breasts, your milk, morning and PM. So let's say you wanted to go out one night, you could leave the night milk. You want to be measuring your nipples. You don't want to just stick any flange on your breasts for pumping. Most pumps come with a hole this big on their flange, which is the size of a cow's nipple. And most women are somewhere around here. So they usually come with 24, 27, and a real cow is 25. So it doesn't matter how big your nipple is or your breasts are, it's the size of your, not your areola. You don't want any of your areola going into the pump. So only your actual nipple, the tip of your nipple goes into the pump. And then, but your baby, unfortunately, you want as much of your areola going in the baby's mouth. And you don't, nobody needs to pump. That's just another thing, you know, that's a multi-billion-dollar industry. But if you were just to feed I say in the beginning, no, don't go longer than 2 hours. And the 2 hours start for me after you finish your feed. And you want to make sure you feed both sides, even if it's 5 minutes, 7 minutes. And you want to be massaging your breast, because if you were to go, let's say 4 hours and only feed one side, you would be going like 8 hours without telling your breast what to make. So it would say, oh, I don't need to make milk for 4 hours or 8 hours. So if you skip a feed, so you always want to remove both sides. So this is a very handy little thing. You can put it on and kind of, it's like one squeeze and you just like attach it. And while you're feeding on one side, you can be collecting milk from the other side. You could do it before feed, where you catch the really fast letdown, like let's say after the first week. The milk comes in, your milk comes in like usually around night 3 or day 3, after you've had the baby. If you've had epidural and a lot of drugs, it might come in like day 4 or 5. But the longer your body makes the colostrum, is what your baby needs. So if your baby needs more nutrition, it will stay in the colostrum stage and then switch over to milk. But while you're, first of all, the baby's, there's my little baby. The baby's stomach is the size of their palm. So it's only like little drops. So the baby doesn't need that much. It needs like a teaspoon an hour. So that's it. The first day, you might get one void, you might get poop that looks like tar. So, and then don't get scared that they tell you the baby has jaundice. The more you feed, the more the baby poops and more the baby gets sunshine. So like even if you're at home, keep the baby near a nice open window, a window that has sunshine, and take the baby out 10 minutes a day, a couple of times a day. Because the sun and the breastfeeding or feeding will help get the jaundice, remove the jaundice. Let me look at the questions. Can I pump some for my 1-year-old who has been drinking almond milk? Yes, of course. You could give everybody in the family your milk. And a lot of people during COVID were feeding the family their breast milk for antibodies. So amazing thing about breastfeeding directly versus pumping, and which pumping is very good. But when you feed directly from your breasts and the baby's tongue and saliva touches your nipples, what happens is it's like a computer input. It's like saying, okay, I need you to make more of this nutrient. I'm getting sick, so you need to adjust the milk that's coming out, and your body will adjust all day long for what your baby needs, exactly for your baby's formula. Pumping, the milk is still good, but it's not the exact formula for your baby. And you could remove milk all throughout the day. So even if you were only gonna latch the baby for a few minutes, at least it's telling your breasts what to make. You could have twins and one has a fever and one is fine. Your breasts would accommodate each one of them. It's like a miracle. It is hard in the beginning because you need support. You need somebody showing you it's natural, but it needs to be learned by both baby and mother. And it's scary because you have to keep this child alive now and you don't know how much the baby's getting. So I always say, check the diapers. So in the first few days, put like 3, then like 6. And then, in a couple of weeks, you put 8 diapers out. They'll probably go through a lot more. But as long as they're doing 8 to 10 diapers a day, the baby's getting more than it needs. The first few days, it's not going to avoid as much. But after that, you'll be surprised how powerful those little tushies are. They could poop across the room. If it's a boy, they pee across the room. So be always surprised to be blessed, always. They're gonna squirt you.
So why do people say that breast milk loses its nutrients after like a year or 2? People say don't breastfeed, it loses nutrients.
Okay, so if you read the guidelines, what it says is to exclusively breastfeed the first 6 months. After 6 months, it's called complementary. That's when you start adding food in. And then even here, the FDA says it's best to breastfeed for up to 2 years. But if you do longer, a lot of women do longer. To me, I think 2 years is usually enough. And most people are getting pregnant again anyway. So, and don't use pregnancy or birth or breastfeeding as birth control. You can get pregnant 3 to 2 months later, 3 weeks. Yep. And first of all, you shouldn't be doing anything 3 weeks later. When you start off, your uterus is this big. And then after you have the baby, your uterus is this big. And every time you breastfeed, you're going to feel contractions, but it takes 42 days for your uterus to go back, sometimes a little bit longer. But please get checked before you have intercourse again. And if you don't want to be pregnant, then, you know, you want to, people are confused. They think it's birth control, and it doesn't work.
Is it completely safe to breastfeed while pregnant?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I was just telling the story of that mom that just had her baby, and the other one was 2 years old. I have one that's just the one I was telling you guys about, the C-section mom. She's still breastfeeding her daughter, who's just turned 4, and she wants to stop, but her daughter really wants it. So what she does is lets her latch on when the baby latches on, and then she counts to 20 and then says, that's it. But it's 50% nutrition and it's 50% nurturing. So just being on you is so nurturing. In some countries, they don't put the babies down at all. They wear the babies never cry. You cannot spoil a newborn. You cannot spoil a newborn. A newborn does not have anything in their brain to say, oh, let me cry so they'll pick me up. You can't, they don't have that within their brain, okay? I would say around 6 months, you know, when you know that they've fed, they've eaten, diapers changed, you could put them down and let them cry for a couple minutes and go back in, pat their tushy, you know, when you know they need to sleep. But up until then, you cannot spoil. And even if you do spoil, it's okay. Spoiling a baby, a child is good because it makes them a more secure child adult. So children whose needs are met when they're young become very secure as older children and as adults. They're able to play by themselves better. They feel more confident. If a baby is left crying, you know, they have no other means of communicating with you. So that's the only way they know how to get your attention. But it's not because they're trying to get your attention. It's the only thing they know what to do. Okay, so since we're on breastfeeding, what I say to do is pick your baby up, change its diaper, take off its clothes, leave the diaper on, and you're gonna burp your baby first. You're gonna make sure that the baby is burped after sleeping, and you're gonna do it before you actually breastfeed. Because when we lay down, acid builds up, and if you go to put a baby onto the breast and they have gas, they're gonna be like on your breast, and you're gonna say, oh, they don't want me. 90% of cries are gas. So we want to avoid the gas. And so what we do, we burp before, and while hopefully somebody's helping you and is getting the baby changed, or you know, if not, I like to get some of these type of milk removers, and you're going to remove the milk first. Excuse me. Because sometimes when your milk comes in, it comes in really fast, so it seems like it chokes the baby. So if we can remove an ounce before actually putting the baby to the breast. And another thing you want to do is make sure that you have massaged your breast very well before you actually offer the baby. Let me just get a drink. Cheers. Sorry. You want to massage your breasts, and your breasts need to be soft before you can actually maneuver your breast into the baby's mouth. If your breast is taut and hard, there's no way that you can maneuver the nipple into the baby's mouth. What will happen, they'll just grab the tip of your nipple and will chomp on your nipple. And you also want to make sure that the baby, let me see, the baby is skin to skin with you and tummy to tummy. So we want the baby, we never hold the baby's head. We're going to kind of come in from their back. We're going to tease the baby with your nipple. And then, wait, she's going to, there we go. You're going to massage your breasts, your baby is one hand over here. And you're going to take your nipple and you're going to aggressively go from baby's nose to lips to chin, nose to lip to chin. And when you see that baby open its mouth, you're going to push them towards you. You're never going to go to the baby. You're going to have the baby come to you. And once the baby is latched and it's comfortable, you're going to release this arm. You're going to bring it into the crook of the baby into the crook of your arm. And in this hand, you're going to be massaging your breasts. So when the baby stops sucking, it's because the milk stops flowing. So we want to move the milk down. So every time the baby stops sucking or seems to fall asleep, we're going to move more milk to the baby. And in the beginning, you really want to engage the baby when you pick the baby up. So you're changing their diaper, you're burping, and you're going to talk to the baby. You're going to tell them about the trees and the sky and the room, and just talk to your baby before you actually latch the baby. Because if you pick up a baby and put them right to your breast after it's been in a sleep, it's going to fall right back to sleep. It's going to take 2 sucks, and no matter what you do, that's the end of it. And then, of course, 30 minutes later, it's going to wake up again. So you want to engage the baby before you actually try to feed. Because, like I said, 2 sucks, and they'll go right back into a sleep mode. And like I said, the stomach is only the size of their palm. It's very tiny. So that's why I say 2 hours. Don't go longer than 2 hours, because then acid builds up, and then you hear, they say colicky baby is because of gas. So if you can keep a little bit in their tummies, like every 2 hours, and again, 2 hours, I say, from the time that you finish a feed. Sometimes the babies do wake up again before, but don't let them go longer than the 2 hours. Especially the first 2 weeks. And let's say they've lost, they're down to 6 pounds. They were 7 when they were born. You want them back up to the 7 by 2 weeks. So a baby should gain its birth weight back by 2 weeks. And it's perfectly normal that they lose 10% of their body weight, especially if you're having a lot of fluids put in you or epidural. It's perfectly normal. And then, like I said, for 2 weeks, you're going to do every 2 hours. And then once it surpasses its birth weight, then I'd say keep it up during the day, but at night you could start going to the 3 or 4 hours. But if your breasts are sore and the baby sleeps through the 3 to 4 hours, and you feel that your breasts are full, remove some milk. So hand express a little bit and get that milk out, because if you let it build up, it's going to be like a pimple. It's going to pop. So you need to release it, because you can get mastitis very quickly, which is like an infection in your breast, just from, not removing the milk. Any questions?
Amazing. I can't thank you enough. If
You're
there are
welcome.
no more questions, it's been over an hour and a half. Thank you.
Well, thank you.
Quick question. Sorry. So if I'm opting for the IUD after birth, I remember you vaguely saying that one will affect breast milk, one will not. The other one will
So
not.
the copper IUD is, it doesn't have any hormones. So
Is
that's
that
the
the
one.
3-year one? Is that the mini?
No, it's a regular, it's called the copper 7. I had it in between each of my births, my pregnancies. And then I had my first 2 in 2 years, and then I hated being pregnant, but I wanted another child. So I waited 9 years. So I had an IUD for 8 years. And as soon as I took it out, I said to God, this is meant to be. And the next day I was pregnant. So, but the other one has hormones, and I've heard doctors tell my clients that it's very little hormones, and it stays right where the IUD is. And I'm like, anything that's systemic is going to go through your bloodstream. So people are still affected by the hormones in those smaller ones, the Mirena, whatever. But I don't like hormones. They're pretty nasty. And you can actually, with the mini pill and stuff, you actually can get pregnant if you miss it by 1 hour.
Yeah.
So for me, IUD was always like it's hard to use an IUD before you have children, but it's much easier after. You just, I would rather have a little bit heavier period than be sick from hormones. Plus it stops your milk supply and messes with your head and everything else. But if anybody has questions, you can send to Iris, and if you need more specific information, I can send you other things. But I wish you all.
You and Spear for sharing, and Yael, you've been amazing. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
And thank you for all of you who joined us. And
I wish you all a healthy, safe birth, easy. Please have somebody support you. If you're in a pinch, you can always, Iris can give you my number. I can walk you through stuff, even on the phone. So I'm happy to do that.
you're amazing. Amazing.
You all are amazing. Thank you. Thank you for what you do, Iris.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Nice meeting you.
Nice meeting you all. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.